for calling.
Join live Africans United, Know Thyself, Black Power Radio on Oak 93.5. Each and every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. where we discuss solutions to black communities local and globally. With Brother Essence Divine, Dr. Kimberly Maturian, and Brother Asar Amen. With special guests every week, you can follow Africans United, Know Thyself, Black Power Radio on Facebook.com/Oak 93.5. Or you can engage in conversation by calling 919-899-9305. Once again, each and every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. right here on Oak 93.5.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hey, peace to the elders, the ancestral giants. Peace to gods and goddesses past, present, and future. Peace to kings, queens, and royal families all over. And peace to you, brothers and sisters. You tune into Oak 93.5 FM, Africans United. Know Thyself, Black Power Radio. And back in the building today, we have the Honorable Brother Amen.
Anakasar, a BB for Hodier, African liberation, black liberation, African power, black power. For every black man, woman, and child on the planet, we are the original people. I am the original man. I am a son of Africa. Peace to the listening audience out there. I want to give a big shout out to my queen mother, my mama, Janie W. Green. I love you, Ma.
And we have the queen, Dr. Kimberly Maturian.
Good morning, listening audience. You have tuned in to hear some of the most phenomenal information on the queens of this world, not just wherever you stand, but across this entire globe. We are looking forward to hearing the knowledge that will be dropped and the science that will leave us all into a positive eternity.
Wonderful. And I'm Essence Divine, and as you hear today, we lift up the African woman, the Black Goddess Queen, God's greatest creation, the first teacher in the living temple or institution of our people, from the shores of Yoruba land to the forests of Central Africa, from the Nile Valley to the Caribbean and the Americas. Her spirit shows up as mother, warrior, healer, priestess, and nation builder. We talking Oshun, Mami Wada, Nana Buluku, Obatala, the divine feminine written into our nature, the rivers, the trees, the stars. It's written all over our DNA, like from Queen Nzinga, Yawa Santawa, Amina of Zazal, Amana Renas, Rana Valona, Anna Dahomey of the Amazons, sisters who put armor over dresses and stood in the doorway between Africa and the European gun. Today we ask, what does it mean to say the black woman is God's greatest creation? What is the ancient connection with nature? What does it mean for how we raise our sons, daughters, and our future warriors? Start with Brother Asar. Why is the African woman God's greatest creation?
Well, one of the reasons is because there will be no humanity without the African woman, without the black goddess queen. It's a known fact. Dickenish, 3.2 million years old. And also, understanding the mitochondrial DNA gene, which the black woman is the only woman on this earth who possesses all possibilities, humanity within her genes, meaning that, the Asians, the Europeans, the people from India, the Hispanics, anyone you can name of, all their DNA lead back to the black woman. And that's just one of the, reasons why, the black woman is the black goddess queen and God's greatest creation, because of her, for one, her ability to nurture, to be strong in the face of adversity. And, as I was thinking about, this subject matter and topic, I thought about, our teachings from Kemet, right? Our Kemetic teachings in our set and all of her divine attributes as far as nurturing and teaching and loving and putting Saul's body parts together. And I thought about my mother because I was like, wow. I said, my mother has always had all of those attributes as far as, raising a family, working, taking care of her children, going to school at a young age, 31, 32, 33 years old with 4 children, and being able to balance everything back in the 70s, and you look at it, when you're young, like your parents have been here forever. But then when you get up in age and you look back, you realize that, wow, mama was young.
Yep.
And she was really doing an awesome job of holding a family down, in a crucial time in our history as a people. Just coming out of the civil rights era and, things still hard for the black family today, just like it is today. So, it's for those reasons, when I look at, my mother, her sacrifices and everything that she's done and everything that she's still doing today for her family, and, thankfully, gratefully, we were able to celebrate her 83rd birthday last Sunday, at a restaurant and everything, and all my aunts, not my aunts, all my nieces and my sisters and my great nieces there. Me and my brother, we were the only men that was there, right? So, after we ate, we went outside and we took pictures and everything. And then, my brother had to leave. And I was like, wow, I'm the only man here. Time for me to go home. And, they went over to my mother's house and called my daughter over there. And my daughter called me when she got home. She said it was like a sister circle. They just sat there and talked about things, all the way up to 11 o'clock that night.
Beautiful.
From like 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Yes.
So, I just think that, the black woman, the black goddess queen, is so instrumental in our family, with the love, guidance, and nurturing, that they profess. So shout out to my mama again, Janie W. Green, for always being there for me. And also, she's a really big fan of this podcast, this radio show.
Yes.
And she basically even calls, and gives me advice on, subjects, topics that we can discuss. So, I just want to shout my mama out and all the other black queens.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And, same question for Dr. Kim, but I want to first let me give a shout out to my mother also, because she is a true matriarch also, and some of the things you were just explaining, and I think about them like my mother, and she was very young at the same time. Yes. If I'm mistaken, I think my older brother, she was 15. I was 17 when she had me.
Right.
And we got 5 to all of that. And I think she was still in the mid-30s by the time she had her 7th one.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Dr. Kim, same as you, why is the African woman, the black woman, the God's greatest creation?
Oh, wow. Well, first, let me also send my honor to my own mom, who is deceased. Her name is Gwendolyn Bryant Bronson, and she passed away when I was 14 years old. So I was able to extract all of her knowledge, education, and the legacy of spirituality, which is one of her greatest attributes. She raised me to walk with her to Richard B. Harrison Library on Saturdays and poured into me the substance of education and God and ethics. And so I am proud to say that my mother was born the last of 9 children. So she was she didn't know her mother either, because her mom died when she was 10 months old. So, just fighting for basic life and quality of life in Southeast Raleigh. But I want to say thank you, Mom, for what you deposited. And I promise I will make you a proud woman here on this side of this earth. Why is the black woman, the black gene, the black DNA, the most powerful, most potent, the most charismatic of genes throughout this globe? Why? Because we are the original people. And because of it comes the most, we cannot even express how powerful the knowledge that goes into the chromosome of a black woman. I don't believe scientists have scraped the surface that says how powerful we really are. Now, the funny part about it is others know. People see how powerful the black woman is. We've been able to bear up this country, and I was talking to Brother Asar on yesterday when we talked about there was a saying that said the black woman is the muse of society. What does that mean? Is that no matter what this country goes through, black women have bred for this country. This country has made us bleed for this country, and we've absorbed the emotional trauma of our sons been sent off to prison. Our sons been sent off to wars that we were not really supposed to be in. And so we've watched our children, our offspring. And so from there, we were not allowed to faint like the white woman. You know, the white woman, she was docile and she couldn't take too much, mentally. Right. But black women had to hold it together. Black women had to be the strength. Black women had no choice but to go to work in the school. I'm one. I had to go. I went and got 4 degrees, and I worked full-time and part-time. So we had no choice but to make it happen. We made lemons and lemonade. So when you talk about what we encompass as a human species, black women are it. The African DNA exudes strength beyond any kind of strength you might ever want to, and even beyond masculinity, the physical strength. We possess a mental strength that allows us, come on, after you being raped, you still got to get up and go to work on somebody's field. After your children have been sold down the river, you still had to go back out into the fields. Mentally, we were not allowed to fall apart. We see women today talking about, oh, well, I have a child. I need 2 weeks off. I need 2 months. No, we were right back in the field. So we exuded strength and resilience that no other female species could ever endure. We are it. We are the queens of the world.
And just think about your children getting sold off, but you got to stay in house and feed someone else's children or take care of someone else's child. The same people who just sold your child off.
And you didn't die of heartbreak. You didn't have a mental health breakdown, and you didn't have to take Prozac, or they didn't have no pills for that.
So when we talking about the greatest creation, are we talking about just biological, spirituality, nation building, or are we talking about all the above?
All the above. Mm-hmm. We are the top of the charts, and we should be honored.
Right. And I think Dr. Kim made a really great point when she talked about the genetics, the gene, the black gene, because when you look at, and that was a great question you just asked too about physically, spiritually, and mentally, and all of those things, and we all know that with black being the foundation and being the strength and all coming from black, and being that the black man, the first thing to come from a black woman, it's important to understand where we get a lot of our physical characteristics from, like Dr. Kim was talking about, and the strength of the black woman. Because, one thing, I used to be real big into athletics and sports, and we are very gifted, and I ran across something on the internet the other day, and these young brothers, every last one of them was running a 4.22 something, and a 4.28,
right,
in the 40,
40, right.
And those are nothing but genetics. So when you're looking at, our strong black kings, our strong black warriors, it's important to understand the genetics that they come from a strong black woman and a strong black man. And that's how the genetics basically have been able to stay strong. So, we always give honor to the black queen, for her guidance, her strength. And when we look at, like I was speaking on earlier, the Kemetic teachings in our set, and everything that she had to teach Haru to overcome his uncle so that he could reclaim the throne. Within those teachings and within those lessons are basically giving us the values and the armor that is going to be necessary for us in this time and day, in this age, for us to be strong and be warriors the way I said trained Haru to be a warrior. It's the same today. The first teacher is the mother. So I think that, when we look at what's important today for our black mothers is to really understand the power and the strength that they have, and don't believe all the negative hype that they say about the black woman, because the black woman is the black goddess queen.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah, and well, first of all, let me peace to another young queen, one of my babies. She's coming up and saying Aset. Her name is Aset. Middle name is Aset. So
Yes, indeed.
Lala.
Yeah.
Peace to Lala too.
Lala, yes.
Yeah, but so even Aset, she had, the story. It was more queens with her also that represented so many other attributes or whatever. So she's not just behind the black man. She's the blueprint, the portal, the protector of our future. African women also have a connection with nature that's deeply rooted in cultural practices.
Yes.
The environmental stewardess, conservative efforts. The women of Africa have long been using their knowledge and experience to protect and nurture the natural environment. Let's go with the cultural practices. That's such as passed down stories and wisdom about nature, like the Kikuyu women planting sacred fig trees, or the Majikenda women protecting kaya forests. Environmental stewardess, like the environment conservation, restoring landscapes. Programs like sowing, beekeeping, which are essential for ecological resilience. Conservative leadership, advocating for the protection of wildlife and the environment. These efforts are crucial in addressing habitat, species loss, and climate change. And literary representation, literature such as Eminata Fauna's, what was it called? Ancestor Stones, portrays the deep interconnection between African women and their natural environment, highlighting their indigenous knowledge and the importance of preserving the land. This connection is not only about survival, it's also about reverence and respect for the natural world. So, Brother Saul, let's start with you again. How has nature itself taught us the true value of the black woman and her connection between the natural world?
Well, the black woman is nature.
Okay.
I think that's important to understand. All of the elements are within the black woman, so she has a natural affinity, to nature, to the wind, to the ground, to trees, through planting, through agriculture. And I said, she basically was the one who brought agriculture into existence, right? And the cultivation of the land, right? And I think it's important to understand how, when they cultivate the land, how they got to make sure that they till it properly, as far as getting all the weeds, the roots, the things that would obstruct the natural growth of the crops. And we take that and we understand the same thing applies when we're taking in our sets wisdom teachings, right? That we have to basically make sure that the mind is like the soil that we plant the crops on, fertile. The mind has to be fertile. So we have to take away all of the lies and falsehoods that we've been taught so that we can be able to accept the truth. That's one aspect of nature and being natural and understanding the cultivation of the land, also the cultivation of the mind, also the cultivation of the spirit, right? And everything basically we do when we're dealing with nature is also dealing with spirituality.
Come on.
When we understand the elements of the universe and how the elements of the universe coincide with our physical makeup.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Kim, how you think the black women connect and natural connects with the natural world?
Well, when I think about the black woman and we think about nature, we also think about the natural attributes of health and medicine.
Okay.
healing. And when I say that, I'm not saying because someone is sick. And let's talk about sickness, because the ground was given to us to heal us. The plants and the way we cultivate the ground also allows us to manifest healing as a part of our daily diet, not just something that we're trying to obtain, but something that we are. And as a black woman, our job is to make sure that there are no impurities. Like Brother Asar talks about protecting. That's the first sign of protection. Without the skill of a sword, just learning how to separate what is right from wrong. What we found is that the further away we get from the origins of African, the more toxic medicine and health become, because we don't honor the origins of black. See, we not only hold the substance to healing, but we also are Hippocratic oath. We are the Hippocratic oath. We are designed to make sure that we keep health pure. We don't have to make it up. We are it. So Western civilization has to create the Hippocratic oath. We are the Hippocratic oath. In our DNA, we are designed to make sure that there is no manipulation in science. And just because you can manipulate it don't mean you are supposed to. Right. And see, that's called a mad scientist. As African women, we are designed to keep it pure. Right. We're designed to keep it wholesome so that we don't cross the lines of barbarianism. We are the containers of humanity. And that is something that nobody can take away from us. It comes with the harmony that you hear. You know, in slavery days, they hated for us to sing, but that harmony was healing. That music was healing. It wasn't just a gift. It was the way of spirituality to bring all things into oneness. And when we talk about Africa, we're talking about an African-centeredness is healing, medicine, and the power of protection of all living things.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to say, because Dr. Kim is right on point, and in Shetawat Netta, and we've been over this before, Shetawat being the mysteries, the secrets, that which is hidden.
Come on.
And Netta is nature, the cosmic forces, creation, creator. So Shetawat Netta teaches us, number 5, Shetawat Netta enjoins the protection of nature. And I think that's important, that we protect our environment. Right? And another thing, basically, when we're talking about the connection between the nature and the black woman, is we learn from nature. We observe nature, and we watch the ants, and we watch the way the ants protected the queen ant.
Yes.
And we watch the not the butterflies, the bees, and we watch the way they protected the queen bee. That's why we talk about queen bee. That's because what this taught us was that's where life comes through, right? The queen mother. Right. And so she has to be protected because that's where the future generations are going to be.
Yes.
Right. And that's why, I really like when we have these positive discussions about the black goddess queen. Yes. Right. So we can spread the message of the value of the black woman. She's always been very valuable. And we know that our oppressors, our enemies, those who want to break us down, know that. And this is one thing that the Nation of Islam teaches, right? That a nation can rise no higher than its woman, right? So they focus to break our women down. So then that way our young boys and young girls will be broke down.
That's right.
And then we end up with all these high numbers of incarcerated young brothers.
It's true.
The weak in our communities, the weak in our families, and the weak in our nation.
Come on, let's speak on it,
that's why
brother.
it's so important for us to learn from nature. And understand what the bees and what the ants are doing when they protecting the queen bee and the queen ant.
Yes.
Right? All of these things that nature teaches us about the feminine essence is so important. Another thing I want to point out is because we talked about the mind being fertile, right? It's just like a queen, a black woman, when she gets pregnant, she has to be a willing participant and open up freely. It's the same with the mind.
Right.
The mind has to be open and receptive.
That's right.
To knowledge, because if it don't, it's going to reject it,
yes.
and it's not going to be any good whatsoever. And that's why our ancestors in the oldest book in the world, Ptah-hotep, it teaches us, follow the ways of those who have listened to the ancestors and follow the ways of the ancestors. Teach the hearers. Teach the hearers. Don't teach the non-hearers, because the non-hearers aren't listening and they're not receptive. So we're always looking for those who are open to knowledge, to learn about our culture, to learn about our history, to learn about how basically our enemies have tried to erase our history to weaken our consciousness so that we won't know who we are as a people and the power that we have and the knowledge that we have. And when we really understand our spiritual essence and the knowledge of self, and then that'll put us on the right road and the right track to where we need to go for liberation, independence, and global power.
Wow.
And something Dr. Kim was speaking on, like about the medicines or the herbs and the healing processes, how we was the women always was in, out in the nature picking, knowing the right herbs and stuff to heal and the ones that harms.
That's right.
So they always had that type of connection with nature, but it's kind of so what I want to ask real quick is the attack on our women's bodies and image. Is that like an attack on nature also itself?
Oh my God, Brother Essence, you in the corner. I was coming out fighting. I'm gonna tell you, absolutely. When I think about the essence of the black woman, the African woman, and her DNA, what we have to also recognize is we have been gifted to embody order. If you're talking about the chromosomes, that's us. So there is a natural order in our DNA for all humanity. Anytime you start seeing things get chaotic, it's because it's attacking the natural order. So anytime the more degraded you see the African woman, the more you see the chaos in the world. It's an equilibrium. They mirror each other. You cannot dishonor the mother queen and expect that your world will have stability. Anytime you see the instability, you should all automatically say someone is against nature. Somebody is being inhumane. Someone is being beast-like. Someone is being anti-human. And so when we look at, we are the mirror to what humanity is supposed to be. Everything about us protrudes. It protrudes up. It protrudes out. It protrudes back. Everything about us is expanded. We glow in the sun. So when you see African women, you know that we are the brightness of all creation. Anytime you see us degraded or below, it says that someone has perverted the order and the world remains in chaos.
Wow. Yeah, well spoken. Well, maybe I just started reflecting on some things, like maybe I've been beast-like a little bit sometimes.
Well, they trained us to self-consume. See, only animals eat their own. Mm-hmm. And so when you put us in survival mode, it becomes a dog-eat world, which is a beast-like mentality. It's not human. They've given permission for you to become animalistic in your behaviors. And see, that's cannibalism 101 from the European societies. And so we were never taught to do that. As the motherland and the origins of all humanity, we were taught to gather. See, a farmer and agriculturist gathers, it weeds, it has specific instructions on how to take care of. Right. Africans do not destroy. And those that come from the lineage of Africa do not destroy. We were entrusted with minerals and resources beyond any other continent. So again, that alone shows you how much the Creator entrusted our DNA to navigate the entire globe.
Right.
Anything else is a foreign entity to the human spectrum.
Something else people gotta realize, it comes right out of their own mouth. Mother Nature, they always say.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Brother Saul, let me ask you real quick. The stories with figures like Oshun, Mami Wada, so forth and so on. How are those stories trying to teach us about Black women today?
Well, I always go to the African spiritual traditions and the stories of Kemet, and basically what Aset and her twin sister Nephet teach us is their commitment and dedication to family, right? Because Nephet and Aset are twin sisters, right? Mm-hmm. But one of them represents the spiritual, which is Aset, and Nephet, she represents the physical side. But they're also inverted because it's really one and the same, because all is spiritual, right? And so when Set, which was Nephet's husband, killed Esau, which was Set's brother, they had to go and find the body parts, right, to find Esau. And they used Anpu, which was the jackal, right? And Anpu was the son of Esau and Nephet. And Anpu was vigilant, right, by day and by night. So he was the guy that led them to find Esau. And then they put the body parts together and resurrected. And that's when Aset became pregnant with Haru. And she raised Haru. She taught Haru, right? And she taught him the high values of Kemetic traditions, spiritual traditions. Everything that we go over. Control your thoughts, right? Yeah. Control your actions. Because she knew that when he had to go up to fight his uncle, because the reason his uncle Set killed Esau, because Esau was the king of Kemet. And Set was jealous of him, and Set wanted to be the king. So he killed Esau. And so when they found his body parts and put it back together, Aset turned herself into a swallow, and she had Esau resurrect, and that's when she became pregnant with Haru. And so she taught Haru the high values, control your thoughts, control your actions, because she knew that Set was going to use all of his tricks to try to defeat Haru, right? And he was going to try to get Haru angry and upset so he wouldn't be able to fight. And his tricks worked. And they battled for hundreds of years, and neither could defeat each other. Until one day, Set gouged Haru in the eye, which represents that he was blinded by rage. And that's when Tahuti came. And Tahuti is the netter of wisdom, or the god of wisdom. He came and he healed Haru's eye and told him, remember the teachings. Remember what your mother taught you. That you have to remain calm, because when you remain calm, and then you can think. So Aset was the teacher and was teaching him spirituality, spiritual development. Control your thoughts, control your actions, steadfastness and purpose. Have faith in your teacher's ability to lead you on the path of truth. Have faith in your ability to accept the truth, and so on and so forth. So the qualities that Aset possessed in teaching her son what it was going to take to be able to overcome Isfit, which is the opposite of Mayat. Mayat being truth, justice, and righteousness, order, balance, harmony, reciprocity. Isfet being anger, hatred, jealousy. So she was teaching him how to overcome the lower aspects of the mind through spiritual development. That way you can basically, in a sense, find the balance that's necessary. And it's important for our Black queens out there today to understand the value and the importance of spirituality, of having them high values and qualities that our ancient ancestors taught, so that we can grow up to live a life of Maya.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to add to it?
No, that was well said,
Right,
brother.
right.
Sir, that was
Yeah,
powerful.
and just talking about spirituality. When you get into that higher consciousness, then your connection with the nature becomes that much brightened, for lack of a better word. I want to, Dr. Kim, let me ask you this real quick from your perspective or the work that you do. You see any like women environmental stewards, um, or how can we get them back to being environmental stewards if they're not in today's time? Meaning like back into, just the green thumb farming,
Yes.
community gardens, and just those type of that type of thing to for better healing, and sometimes we talking about healing, we talking about eating the proper foods.
Sure, sure. Well, I think what you're talking about is true motherhood.
Okay.
And that comes with a domestic responsibility. And it's not so much outward as much as it is inward. Feeding yourself what is best comes from knowing what is best. So what we're asking is for a revolution of thinking, of knowledge. And remember now, the African woman was never domesticated. We were the origins of humanity. So now you see us put back in this situation where we went for 400 years. Let's back before we talk about slavery. Let's talk about that we were the original hands to agriculture. We were the ones who tilled the ground and understood what it meant to build civilization. So we didn't have to acquire civilization. We created what civilization was supposed to be. Now society is imposing what civilization is on us. You see, and so they're imposing it from a place of survival. So when you're in survival mode, you pick up anything because you running. You picking up McDonald's, you picking up oodles and noodles, you picking up stuff that has no nutrition. So we don't even have time to think. See, the early woman had time to think and process. Instead of eating processed food, we had time to process agriculture. That is not who we are today. Everybody's on the run. And so when you're on the run, you don't get a chance to think. Now we're going to have to ask the universal God to give us back the components of a mind to use it before we lose it. And so that's why you see us now a byproduct of our environment, because our environment is chaotic. We're not just talking about health. We're talking about an environment of health, an environment of eating properly, taking time to plan our meals, taking time to plan education, you see. And when you have those kind of components, now you are raising your food, raising your children, raising the vibration, raising the community, raising our wealth, raising our worth, raising how we. So it's a holistic approach. It is those things that we brought to the table in our DNA when we first got here. Now we're having to unlearn the disrespect, the undisciplinary behaviors that now we pass off to our children, because now the children go into the schools and they out of control because we out of control. And so we are living in chaos. And it's time for us to take a step back and unlearn the behaviors, or dismantle the behaviors that keep us in a chaotic. And that is all by design. So now we have to be intentional. Just like they were intentional to create the chaos, we have to be intentional about dismantling the chaos.
I like that. Want to get into some powerful African warrior queens.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Worthy women to be honored. Wow. So today we just want to send a shout out to the warriors that predates our existence and not just made a path for civilization, but for all humanity, and left their stamp behind. And so pardon me as I try to articulate the names, but I will give it my best shot. So I first want to start off with Queen Nzinga Mbande from Angola. She was a 17th century ruler of the Ndongo and Matamba kingdoms. She fought the Portuguese for decades using tactical guerrilla warfare, alliances, and as noted in the PBS Learning Media resource on Queen Nzinga, skilled diplomacy to defend her people. Give it up for Queen Mbande. Woohoo! And then we have Queen Ya Asantewa Sate, thank you, out of Ghana. In 1900, as Queen Mother of the Ashanti Empire, she led the war on the Golden Stool against British colonial rule, rallying her people to fight when the British demanded the sacred stool as documented by media. And then we have Queen Amanirenas from Kush/Nubia. She was a 1st century BC warrior queen who ruled the kingdom of Kush. She led her army against the Romans, capturing cities and negotiating a favorable treaty that maintained her kingdom's sovereignty. This is noted in history.com. So go out there and seek a little bit more about her. We have Queen Ranavalona of the first of Madagascar. Ruling from 1828 to 1861, she maintained the independence of her kingdom by kicking out the Europeans, banning Christianity, and repelling a British and French naval force in 1845. According to a YouTube on the video of African Queens, please go out there and check her out as well. So she also dismantled Christianity and religious, like
strong sister.
Like you're not going to use religion and war against my people. Then we have the Sedong Hung Bay, which is better known as the Dahomey, and she was the leader of the all-female Dahomean Amazons. In the 19th century, she led thousands of women into battle to protect their borders and interests, as discussed by, and I don't know how to say this name, but what I will say is this, who you can check out for a explicit, this would have actually been a documentary transformed into a movie called The Woman King. This is Viola Davis's movie. This was a powerful movie done back here in 2022. It got rave reviews. Of course, you had some male chauvinists who were just mad because the queen took on the role of a king and protected a man. But no matter what you want to say, she did her job. Now, let me pause here. While people are always, upset that the black woman is taking on the role of a black man, then our question is, where's the black man?
Right.
How can you be mad with us for being the protectors when our true protectors are not in place? So where do we go when we are having to take on roles that we really shouldn't have to take on? Everybody can't go to prison. Then who do you leave to protect the community? The black woman? Should we be confined, like I said, the Muse of America, to provide it all? We shouldn't. And last but not least, I want to send a shout out to Queen Amina from Nigeria, 16th century ruler of Zazu, Nazaria. She was a fierce warrior who expanded her kingdom through military conquests, as explained by the informant 247. Give it up, everyone, for these queens. Yeah. Woohoo! Powerful women to be remembered. May we carry on the legacy of warriorship that says that our people are worthy to be protected. Mm-hmm. Yes, our culture and our legacy.
Yeah, I thought the movie that you spoke on was a fantastic movie.
Yes. Well, it showed the resilience of a people and our skill and our ability to meet the match, to raise the awareness of what it takes to be a warrior.
Right.
Yeah.
And just to add on real quick, what she was talking about, the black men. I heard y'all keep talking about the design. So it's definitely been a design, and the sisters, they're calling for us to step up. It's time for the men. We got to step up a little bit, but we know the design, so we got to start moving past that now. And also my take on the black women in leadership position.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
going to ask you, Brother Essence,
Right.
how do you see? What is your take on black women in leadership positions?
So first of all, I like to think of it as I like to think of the mother the same as I think of Earth. First of all, because just like the planet Earth, it brings forth life and it sustains life. And of course the black mother, she got to nurture, cultivate, and sustain life and civilization the same as we're hinting around. That's why I be over here just smiling about to use the word blushing. That might not sound proper, but leadership doesn't always mean standing in front. The black woman, she must also provide the environment for the black man and the children to grow into their higher self. So just as the earth provides an environment for life to grow, the black woman, she must also provide that type of environment for her, the life that she got around her to grow. That includes the black man and the children. But as for the women we heard about, like Queen Nzinga and the rest of the names, it shows that the black woman is very much capable of leading from all aspects, all sides. So I just want to put that out there. And at the same time, do you think our communities are truly ready to follow black women politically, spiritually, economically, the way that the empires followed the queens?
Ooh, that's good. That's good. I think this is one of those, Brother Star. Well, I think it almost takes us back to. I don't see why we shouldn't be at this point. I think we've had enough bad examples that we could stand to take our chance on a black woman. And I think what we're up against is the mindset of white male chauvinistic behaviors that places a hierarchy, a false hierarchy, or this image of what leadership should be, and it's first him, and then whoever he says next. But certainly they want to paint the picture that black women probably should be in their plantation houses at birthing babies so they can have a bigger prison system. But that is to go without saying. I personally believe that black women are well able and well capable of leadership roles, and not just to undo the heavy damages that have been done over the years, but just to lead. Our wisdom is necessary. Our balance is primary, and our sense of humanity it goes without question. I don't know if you all noticed that recently Donald Trump just asked Condoleezza Rice for advice on the war in Iran.
Okay, I thought she was not part of the. Thought she was retired.
Of course she is.
Okay.
But, again, here we go with the fact that let me go back into an arsenal and find some kind of sound advice. Surely you can't get that from Kristi Noem, who you just released. Surely you can't get that from Pam Bundy. You can't get any kind of decent answers because they are all yes men or yes women, put it that way.
Right.
You have to have someone of sound doctrine and balance so that you can know that, what you're looking at is what you're looking at and not what you want to look at. So, again, I really believe we possess the ability to be the balanced token that is necessary for the world.
Yeah. So Donald Trump, Condoleezza Rice, that's saying that he had to go to the black woman.
Got to go back.
Strong backbone.
You got to go back to your. Got to go back to your roots.
I grew up in my household. I had my grandmother, my great aunt, which was my grandmother's sister, my mother. I also have 4 sisters. Um, so the way the leadership was ran around there, and this is the way that I seen it. Sometimes I seen it juggle a little bit, but the 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 matriarchs of the family, they were the leaders. The males was just they just was there to make sure it was a safe space for them to lead.
Sure. Oh, that's good.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's a good illustration.
That's the way it was in my household, the way I came up, and you know, I get to tangling with this with some of my friends, and I'm like, I mean, that's just the way I always seen it. The matriarch, she brought down the discipline and all. The man just made sure that it was, well, he probably executed the discipline, but she was the one that like, this happened over here, you got to go handle that. You
Right.
understand what
Right.
I'm trying to get to?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, so always the black woman, the black mother was always the lead figure in my life from what I seen. I'm sorry.
No, that was
Yes,
good.
yes. I most definitely know that the black woman is qualified to be in leadership positions, and I always like to speak on Mother Africa, the Honorable Queen Mother Winnie Mandela.
Yes.
And all the work that she put in,
Come on.
her fierce spirit, for liberation. I never forget reading in the final call when I was in federal prison, where she said, "Never stop fighting white supremacy."
That's what she
She
said.
said, "Fight it with every ounce of fabric you have in your body." And I never forget it. And it's always stuck with me because this Queen Mother knew that it was going to be a long haul, a fight. And she had to deal with being in prison, torture, but she never broke. She always stood firm and stood strong. And another great queen that's still at it today is Dr. Ericana Chiaboy Quo.
Yes.
And she has a fiery spirit as
Yes.
well for liberation. She was at one point, she was the permanent ambassador for the African Union to the United States. She had established, I think it was 3 clinics here in the United States. She was a medical doctor, right? And the African Union asked her to step in and be the ambassador for them. And she was doing such a great job, they made her a permanent ambassador. But then when her work went beyond great, and she went to talking about how the French, how they were receiving over $500 billion from 14 African countries,
Tell it.
stealing their resources.
Tell it.
That's when they dismissed her from her position. And she formed her own organization, ADDI, African Diaspora Development Institute, which is basically focused on connecting the Africans, brothers and sisters here in the diaspora, with the brothers and sisters on the continent, trying to bridge that gap so that we can come together and work together in unison. So I think that, well, I ain't gonna say I think, like I had stated before, I know that the black woman is qualified. I also know the black woman is qualified because each black mother is a black leader because she has to lead her child.
That's
right. The first teacher, the first educate, that's a lot of responsibility, right? And, the black man, of course, we understand that we've been targeted by this system, for mass incarceration, for all kinds of other things, basically, that bring our community down. And basically, it's been done intentionally to separate the black man from the black woman. That's some of the things that we have to work on as a community. We have to be honest. We have to understand our roles and responsibilities. We have to understand our culture. We have to understand the knowledge of self. And we got to understand I am because we are, therefore I am. It's about the group and not so much an individual.
Yes. Yes. Well, no, that's powerful. This is why we are championing to make sure that the African woman is put back in her place
Yes.
because she is the equilibrium to the rest of the world. And when we're out of place, the rest of the world is out of place. And most people just look, it's sad that one would believe that to keep chaos in our communities is an advantage. But it's actually a disadvantage for everybody because we're connected to everything and everyone. And so we have to recognize our power. We have to understand our purpose, and we have to understand where we're going. What are we executed to do? What is our DNA called to do? Right. We know sometimes what others are designed to do, and only to create chaos so they can keep control. But we never wanted to control those that we've already birthed. Right. Our job is to nurture and release, not hold and control. See, two different purposes. Ours is to release. And so when we nurture and build up, we should not fear our children going out into the world because we've nurtured. We've prepared. And we should not have any kind of doubts on where we land our arrows. There is a saying that children are a quiver in our bow. And what that means is children are like arrows. It's a quiver in my bow. And we were designed as women to take that quiver out from behind us, aim and shoot that quiver into a destinated place. Our children are now being born without any kind of direction. And so they're misfiring, don't know where they should be, committing suicide, going to prison for long lengths of time. We should be so exact. Our children should know what they should be doing. They should not wake up 30 years and still trying to figure out, do they want education? These things should not be on our consciousness. We should be grooming and preparing our children to go directly into agriculture, directly to build those bridges, directly to upgrade our technology. Our children should be the better of us. Like every year, it should be an upgrade. We look for shoes to be upgraded. We look for the Nike to drop, and it should be an upgrade. But we don't expect the next generation to be an upgrade. Come on, y'all, our women, we should be grooming our children to be not, we're looking at a population who can't even stay in school past 10th grade. We're looking for an alternative school because they can't even hold the regular 12 years. No, the brain should be better. The brain should be more enlightened. It should be able to take on more, not less. Yeah. How did technology get better but our brains get less?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Nice. So now they have more alternative schools in the black community, which says that we are lowering our vibration for knowledge.
That's exactly right.
Am I right when I say, brother?
Right. I think that, we got to, one thing I think that we definitely have to discuss when we're talking about the Black Goddess Queen in spirituality, and that's intuition.
Yes.
Right, because that intuition is all-knowing and powerful.
Yes.
Right, and a lot of times we don't understand that. Sometimes, we have intuition. Everybody has intuition. But when we cultivate our mind and our spirituality and raise our level of consciousness, the intuition heightens. And I think that when we're talking about the energy consciousness centers, or as many like to call the chakras, if we discussed before about the fourth energy consciousness center, or the chakra, the heart chakra, how that has to open up. And that's how a mother is. Every time a mother has a child, she thinks, oh, I love this child so much, I couldn't love a child no more than this child, and then she have another one. And her heart just expands.
Yes.
And then she have a third child. Her heart just expands for each child, right? And that's how our heart has to expand on an impersonal level, right, for humanity and creation, in order to go to the fifth chakra, or the fifth energy consciousness center, which is the throat chakra, which is Makaru, true of speech, right? And once we're able to speak the truth, right, and dispel the lies and dispel ignorance, we're able to go to the sixth chakra, the third eye, which is the intuition. And this is where I had to shout out the co-producer of this show, Linda Darton,
Yes.
KCS's
Woohoo.
admin. Her six energy consciousness and intuition is right on point. Because she helps out so much,
Yes,
not
she
only with
does.
this show and all other areas of life, with her family, with her friends, and just the love. And her love is basically, like I was just saying, how it expands, right? And when your heart expands like that, automatically it's going to increase your intuition because of the love and the feeling that you have. And you can just feel things automatic. I might need to call this person, or I might need to call that person. I think that, when we're talking about intuition, is definitely more of a feminine characteristic trait. But men, we also have it, because as we all know that women have, men principles as well as female, just like we
Sure.
have female principles just as well as male principles. Just like when I was talking about how the mind, we have to be receptive. The mind has to be open, just
Yeah.
like the heart has to be open. And then that way our third eye opens up and we're able to see clear. And
That's
we
right.
have a lucid mind where it's no longer agitated or dull, because the mind becomes agitated and dull when we receive false information that's put out there to confuse us, right? And to keep us at each other's throat.
That's right.
That way we're not able to be the true African people that we are, the strong black African queen, or the strong black African king that we need to be in order, to fix this problem, that has been created for us by others.
That's true. Absolutely.
Right. And there's no books or guidelines to any of it, to raise, especially to raising the children or raising the young warriors.
It's a natural thing. I
It's a
learned
natural-
that a long time ago.
Yeah.
When my children was born.
Yeah, that's why
you
you-
just automatically take to it. Shout out to my queen daughters, Jasmine and Christina.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Right. It's an intuitive thing,
Yes,
as you've been
indeed.
saying.
Intuitive.
But
Well, and when you talk about intuitive nature, you're talking about the ability to have a loving heart.
all right.
And so if you're loving, you can't be busy hating. So when we see all of this blood slaughter and chaos, we know that's anti the African-centered consciousness, because we were life givers. We are life givers. Let me say this again. If you're busy giving life, who is responsible for giving all this death?
Right.
It has to come from a foreign place, a foreign thinking, because we are too busy cultivating. We're too busy being the original people who make sure that people eat. You don't need a law with us to have to eat. We were given in abundance. So a lot of this, anti-human behavior is foreign to the original people. We are actually more subjected and imposed upon than we are projecting who we really are. And so now it's time for us to get back into our rightful place to say, not only do we denounce colonialism, but we denounce anti-human behaviors. See, colonialism is a nice word, but colonialism also means control and divide and conquer. We are not of that nature. And as African women, it is anti-us to be that way. So, as we look at, for us to have to be warriors, it also says that we have to protect all humanity.
That's right. Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because, I was just thinking about, Shetawat Netta, and, how Shetawat Netta enjoins that it is the responsibility of every human being to promote order and truth.
Come on.
Maya, right?
That's right.
And so, when we and then also Shetawat Netta enjoys the equality between men and women.
Yes.
And Shetawat Netta enjoys equality between all people, which what you just said about humanity, right? See, our ancestors, right, were so on point. And these values and principles were put together over 5,000, 6,000 years ago.
Right.
So when we look at the intelligence, of our kings and queens, our ancient ancestors and what they were able to do, just like when you were talking about the Hippocratic oath.
Yes, sir.
Right. Basically, that came thousands of years after the real father of medicine, Imhotep,
Right. That's right.
graced the planet Earth. And he had a team of scientists with him, African men and women.
Of course.
They basically were able to extract the necessary ingredients out of the plants to make the medicines that they were creating way back then. And also doing the surgeries, on the brain, the stomach, the heart. So our ancestors are just incredible. And I think that when we understand Shetawat Netta, like the 14 principles of Shetawat Netta, the first one being Shetawat Netta enjoins the knowledge of self as the greatest. Shetawat Netta enjoins the knowledge of self as the main purpose of life. Right?
Yes.
The main purpose of life is to know thyself, the great awakening, spiritual enlightenment. That principle in itself encompasses everything basically that comes within the teachings that's going to lead to that first principle, right? Shetawat Netta enjoins that the main purpose of life is the great awakening, to know thyself. The second one was Shetawat Netta enjoins Shadi, spiritual investigation, as the highest endeavor in life, right? So that means investigating our spiritual essence, right? And when we understand these principles, Shetawat Netta enjoins the proper raising and education of our children.
Yes.
It's teaching us each and everything we're supposed to do. Shetawat Netta enjoins the sharing of the resources, right? It's teaching us not to be selfish. It's teaching us to share, because everything we need comes in abundance.
That's right.
Right? From the Creator, the sunlight, right? The air, the water, Tefnut, the physical land, Gab, all of these things, everything that we need. And Africa had the best of everything.
Yes.
Right? Africa still has the best of everything. That's why everyone is in Africa extracting the minerals and resources, exploiting the land.
Yes.
The motherland, right? From which everything originates. So I think that, when we really go deep into history, as far as the mindset that our ancestors had, because all the values and principles I just named, the Shetawat Netta, we don't see any of that in the United States government. When you talk about, because there's no possible way that you can get justice out of injustice. Right? Because if you got two different groups of people, and one group of people, just say, for instance, the black people, they get all the benefits, they get all the money, they get everything they need, and the white people don't get nothing. Would that be justice?
Nope. No.
But it's turned the other way around, and they try to call that justice. And that's why it's so important for us as African people, as black people, for us to raise our consciousness and stop feeling like we have to put up with the injustice.
That's
because
right.
we don't.
Absolutely.
Because just as our queen warriors that Dr. Kim spoke on, how they pick up arms and they fought, we have to be able to do the same thing. Right. We have to be warriors. We can't have our queen sisters out here fighting each other over a brother, or having our brothers fight each other over a sister. No, we have to stick together. We have to work together. We have to respect one another. We have to honor one another. We have to honor our black queens. Our black queens are not no B's, and they're not no H's. Those are things that we have to eliminate from our language.
That's
We
right.
have to eliminate these things from our mind because it's a trick by the enemy to make us put our women down. You see no other group of people disrespecting and denigrating their women the way you see, unfortunately, the brothers and the sisters doing.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm gonna give a little promotion for next week's program. It's gonna be dynamite. We're gonna talk about the media and the
Yes,
role
yes.
that the media play
Come on.
in shaping the consciousness of the people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and even ourselves, basically, which unfortunately brings on, you know, self-hatred, looking down, thinking that we can't do nothing as a people because of all the propaganda and the falsehoods that the media you know is always spewing our way to make us, you know, look down on ourselves and especially look down on our queens.
True indeed.
right.
And we can run down that rabbit hole all night long. So we're gonna say that for next week
right,
real quick.
right.
But so let me ask you real quick, Dr. Kim.
Yes, sir.
How does it impact a sister's mental or physical health when she's treated as divine versus as if she's treated disposable?
Wow. Whew. Now that's fully loaded, Brother Essence. That's powerful. I believe just the treatment alone gauges life or death and the quality of life. So when we are recognized as the divine, of course our countenance, our health comes forth, it springs forth. But when we're not, that our bodies and our mind take an impact. And that impact is so negative that scientists show that it passes on to the next generation. I don't know if you all know, but in Wake County, they found that the black community, 27610, had the highest infant mortality rate. That's right. So children were dying within 1 year of being born in black communities. The highest. Why? Not because they didn't have anything to eat or they didn't have nutrition, but there's a chemical breakdown of trauma that is passed on from the mother to the child.
Gotcha.
And so when we're not living a healthy or wholesome life, our bodies take a toll, and we are still attached to that umbilical cord to that child who now receives that same trauma. Generations after, just like DNA is passed down, so is the trauma. Epigenetics, absolutely. And so when you asked that question, I was already in the mindset of thinking, in order for us to be warrior queens, first of all, we have to understand what war is. And war is not always a spear or a gun.
No.
Some wars that we are fighting are subjected to mental health.
Yes.
Social economic war. And so all of these things play a total role that they issue constantly at our people. The problem is most of us don't want to admit that we're in a war. You can't be a warrior, but you don't want to decide whether or not you're in a war.
I don't think we know we at war.
I don't think we know it either. And having said that, you can't defend off something that you've, and as a matter of fact, in ignorance, we'll join ourselves to it.
Yeah.
We'll take up the banner that says if you can't beat them, join them.
That's right.
Or at least get paid off of it. You know, like now they put us at war with each other. Now we're getting paid to fight one another. We fighting each other in the streets. We fighting each other in the music. We won't touch on that. We're fighting each other on podcasts. You see us just a fighting. So we can't even stand together because they paying us to fight each other. Okay. I'm a pass the mic. Go ahead.
Right. Yes. I definitely agree with, you know, the fact that a lot of, unfortunately, our brothers and sisters, they don't want to fight. And
Come on.
you know, really, you can't really blame them that much because, you know, if you've been conditioned and brainwashed to think a certain way your whole life, and then you start coming into a certain type of knowledge, it's like you just said, you know, people be like, if you can't beat them, join them. It'll make their life easier to just go to work for them than to try to stand up and challenge them. It's just
It's true. It's
you know?
true.
It takes real warriors, and that's why we're kind of set back in a way, because if you take the over 2 billion black people on this planet and say they are born into a world where there's no global Eurasian imperialism, no white supremacy, right? And they grow up where they don't have any obstacles to obstruct them from any type of knowledge of self or anything. And then most of our brothers and sisters would choose African. They would choose black. Right? But being that we have a brutal history, and unfortunately, that's why we try to get the babies when they're young, to give them that power of the knowledge of self, they can grow up with it. But a lot of, like myself, I've said before, I was 42 when I came into the knowledge of self, right? Almost 20 years ago. And how it changed me, because I always had a warrior spirit. But a lot of times, unfortunately, our mindset, our mental be broke down to the point where we believe all the falsehood that we've been taught about black people.
That's right.
And being inferior.
Right.
Especially when it comes to intelligence, when that's the complete opposite. Right. We are super intelligent. That's why we're the mothers and fathers of civilizations, all the science, father of medicine, agriculture, language, writing, anything you could think of, astronomy, chemistry.
That's right.
So, we're not taught these things, because like we talked about last week, stolen legacy, our legacy has been stolen. And that's why, so many of our brothers and sisters won't even take a look at our history, our true history, and our great scholars and our great information. And we speak about, the Boule. We speak about the fraternity.
Come on.
We speak about the sororities. All of these brothers and sisters had the ability to do what? Think and learn. Yeah. But they choose to learn the European way instead of learning the African way.
Right.
And after being in the fraternity for 25, 30, 35 years, it's hard for them to put it down. You get what I'm saying?
It becomes a part of their identity.
It's a part of their identity. And it's a false identity.
And it's a false identity. Right. And so instead of taking on the motherland as your origins, you take on an imposed European perspective that tells you that you are divine. No, you're not divine because you're divine because the Father, the creator of all living things, made you divine. And that should be a trait whether you have whatever letter you got behind your name. That doesn't matter. So again, our divinity comes from spirituality, not somebody's tokenism. Again, we call that out, and we tell every black child, you are directly connected to the Creator Himself, right. And you whether you have a letter, whether you even graduate, because some of our people never achieve academic astuteness, but they were yet more powerful and just as spiritual. I know my grandmother and them were very powerful and had just as much common sense as some of these folks with this book sense. As a matter of fact, they knew how to treat people right when it was all said and done, and they didn't manipulate you with medicine. They gave you what they had. And so you can't buy that with a book. You can't get a student loan off of that. That's called love and common sense. And so we might need to go back to that so we don't find ourselves. But, again, as we progress, it is a must that we understand what it means to go to war and what it means to protect the very image of who we are. It is very important that we protect each other in this day and age, because the rules are off the table. And the rules are, there are no rules in the rest of the world. They make it up as they go. And there has to be some sound constitution to humanity. Not American Constitution, the Constitution of humanity. Yeah. And that is what we are. That is who we are. And we have to make it so that everybody should be able to, like you said, the sharing of resources. Right, indeed. That's a powerful tool, because that's where we are. If anybody's fighting over anything, we're back to fighting over resources. And those resources don't even belong to us. Those resources were loaned to us to use, and then they expire, and we wait to cultivate so it can come back. So nothing is forever. that is why it's important for us to understand those things. Those are laws. Those are real laws that your Constitution is not going to give you.
Yeah, and I'd like to make a statement about our black warrior queens, because they're very strong.
Yes.
And one thing I like about them, because I do a lot of studying and research, is I love the way their mind works and the way they're able to articulate things and look at things differently than the way I would look at it from as a man, right? And I think that's important because we always have to find the balance, right? I think that understanding the duality principle, male and female is really important. And the black woman, I've seen it, in local politics here in Raleigh, North Carolina, going to meetings, going to conferences, and it's always queens there, black sisters there, standing up, speaking, and it kind of, I got to be honest, it disturbs me a little bit, because I be like, well, where the black men at? Where the warriors? Come on, we have got to stand up as black kings, as black men, as black warriors, and stop finding excuses, got to go to a football game, a basketball game, things like that. It's way more important things than that going on. It's just like when my daughter called me and she was talking about how, it was like a sister circle. Her and my sisters and my mama, and nieces, and how they was talking and building. I said, now, what would that look like? For some brothers,
Wow.
and I was
That's
like,
powerful.
well, they probably talking about some football or basketball or something like that, instead of liberation.
That's right.
And global power, and what we have to do to put protection on our communities and our children, sending our children into these unsafe schools.
Uh-oh.
And I ain't talking about like worried about weapons. I'm talking about the education
Woo!
that they get,
Woo!
the miseducation that's going to lead them from school to what?
Prison.
School to prison pipeline.
That's right.
See, these are the things that are important for us, to focus on. Not only the queens, but the kings as well.
Absolutely. Brother Asar, can I just,
go.
over the week, this past week, I actually took my car to get serviced. And one of the brothers, we were sitting in the lobby, you know how you wait for your car to be serviced. And there was a mother and her son. And this son, I know, he was a very big young man. I mean, big young man and massive. And, but his face was gentle. So I knew he was still young, I knew he was a young man. And when it was time for them to go and check out, one of the service brothers said, "Hey, man, how old are you? And what you play?" And I didn't know how to take that. I was devastated, to say the least, that this black man could look at this young man's statue physically. And the first thing he asked him was, "How old are you?"
What position you?
And what he basically reduced this baby's existence to a physical statue for the white man to use in entertainment.
Right, indeed.
He didn't ask him, what is your favorite subject or academics or any of that. He just looked at a body.
Right. It looked like a good tackle to him.
Yeah.
And this is the same way that the Europeans looked at us when it was time for us to play for them.
Yeah.
Or to pick cotton. They sized us up by our physical attributes.
Or at the slave auction.
At the slave auction.
That's what the combines are.
That's exactly what they do. They still do nowadays. They have combines before they start drafting or picking.
Right.
It's the same concept. And so now they've trained us how to go picking for them.
Right.
And you ain't even get paid. But you have taken on the Europeans' mindset of now recruiting. How dare you look at our children and say that you don't have a brain to offer the world? You have a body to offer the world. If we don't protect our children from this kind of exploitation,
Right.
who is to say that our children deserve for their bodies to be broken up and contusions and
right.
why, for the entertainment of America?
Right.
And so that's the only way you can see this black brother's freedom is if he can use it. You don't see liberation beyond that, brother.
Right.
You don't see that we are worthy of liberation beyond that. This is disturbing. So then I felt like how African women have had to, let's go back to slavery, how we've had to protect when the master saw our children and they were becoming of age to have, how you had to sort of find a way to cover your children or cover their bodies or hide their bodies so that they won't be tempting to the European, or how we've had to protect our young men from being sold to a better plantation for more money. Look at how we're still having to protect. Not from the European, but now the colonized mindset that is transferred over to our own folk.
Right. That's right.
Come on now. We ain't even just talking about the white man.
Right.
We talking about the white man's unleashing of a mindset on our own people. And I'm going to tell you, you couldn't tell him nothing else. If they would have brought him and paid for him to be a top recruiter, he would have been the top recruiter.
He tough one.
Okay. All right. So, like you said, Brother Kevin, we're talking about not just warriorship and protection physically. We're talking about mental.
Right.
Before you even touch the body, this is how we are looked upon.
And something we gotta remember, that a child is a seed that's planted into the earth, which I was just speaking on earlier. The black mothers, symbolic to the earth.
Right.
So the child is the seed. It got to be fed the proper foods. It got to be watered properly.
That's right.
Yeah, and when I say proper foods, I ain't talking about just some
Right.
French
You're talking
fries
about
or
mental and
hamburgers.
spiritual food as
Right.
well.
That's right.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And so they could be raised properly and to know that they're valuable. They're
That's very important.
that they are important in life, other than
That's right.
just a physical specimen to run up and down the court or the field. I love sports, y'all, don't get it twisted. But just to run up and down the court or the field, or just to know that they're mind, they have a mind also.
Yeah. I like to give
go for it.
I like to give an example, because you're exactly right, brother. Because I was really big in sports myself, football, right. And the one thing about it is when they can no longer use it anymore, they throw you to the wayside.
It's over for you.
And I'm gonna be honest. Now,
Come on.
because I've been on state in prison and I've been in the feds, and I have seen some brothers out of this world on that basketball court. And that's what they train their whole life for. And then once that dream is gone, there's nothing else to do. So they get in the streets, because they haven't been taught. Well, not they, we haven't been taught to prepare ourselves, for success after athletics. And then, unfortunately, you get, some of the brothers, become egotistical because they was the man and things of that nature, and then you get to thinking that you're invincible.
Okay.
And then it's just a life of falsehood that started when you was a little boy trying to make it to the league. That's what everybody say, trying to make it to the league. The NFL, the NBA, when it's a very small percentage that's gonna make it. And I think it's important,
right.
For our parents, because my grandson played football, right? Yeah. And I say I wish that these parents would invest as much time into education, literacy, the knowledge of self, our culture.
Yes.
Instead of football, because they gather together for that football. Little League football is bigger than the NFL.
It is.
And they travel more than the NFL. And I think that, this phenomena it really need to be looked at because these children are spending. I mean, now they start football in like February, March.
Right.
And football season ain't supposed to start till about August or September.
Yeah.
So I just think that we need to kind of focus, and because the parents want to see their children make it to the league, because then they feel like if they get in the little league, they think they're gonna make it to the NFL or the NBA, and that's just not the way that it works.
Well, I think it's an escape. It's escape theory. It's an escape mentality from poverty. And they're hoping that they can make the one, it's almost like a one record hit deal. That if I can just get into the NFL or to a pro league, then that's going to take us out of poverty. Right. And so that is anti. If you look at the communities today within our communities, you look at white people coming in, taking entire neighborhoods out. Right. They're not trying to leave our communities. They're trying to come to our communities and stay and build and expand. We're the only ones trying to leave our communities, and this whole narrative that says, I made it out. You made it out from where? Where you trying to go? You trying to go live